Hello, welcome to day 7 of the 30-day Film Yourself Challenge. Today is Sunday, July 28th. And let's take a look and see what today's subject is. Reach in here, pull one out. Today we're going to talk about my favorite band, the Beach Boys, and who they are. We'll talk about the music in another episode. So the Beach Boys were formed in 1961 by the brothers Brian, Carl, and Dennis Wilson and their cousin Mike Love, and their really good friend Al Jardine, who ended up leaving the band before they signed for Capitol Records, and David Marks, their neighbor of the Wilsons, joined them instead. So Brian Wilson is often considered to be the genius of music. He had written some amazing songs. Usually does the music, and his cousin Mike would do the lyrics, and then Brian teamed up with other people as well, and he wrote some songs by himself, but mostly he's known for the way he put all the different musical instruments and stuff. Prior to Pet Sounds in 1965, music was pretty low-key. You know, you had your drums, your rhythm guitar, your lead guitar, your bass, maybe some keyboards, and then your vocals, and that was about it. And Brian was a big fan of the Ronettes and Phil Spector and the work that he was doing. And in 1965, he went into the studio and started creating what's probably one of the best albums ever, Pet Sounds, and using professional musicians, and he added strings and horns and all kinds of stuff, and really just kind of laying the sounds together. So he was the oldest of the Wilson brothers. Next was Dennis Wilson, who was the drummer, and he was the surfer and the ladies' man, and he did a lot of behind the scenes stuff, just kind of chilling and hanging out. But we found out in the 70s that he learned a lot from his brother and created some amazing music on his own. His solo album, Pacific Ocean Blue, is actually my favorite album of all of the solo albums from each of the Beach Boys. Just the things that he put together, and the whole album to me is absolutely amazing. And he has a very smooth R&B kind of voice. And doesn't help that he's good looking too. Then we have Carl Wilson was the youngest. At the time, he was 16 when the band formed. He was, the little baby face, but he could sing like an angel and played the lead guitar. He could play pretty well, he could hang in there with the best of them, and probably one of the more underlooked guitarists in the history of rock music. But Carl was amazing. We lost him in 1999. He was married to Annie Hinch, who was the sister of Billy Hinch, who was in the band Billy, Desi and Billy, which was Dean Martin Jr., Desi Arnaz Jr., and Billy Hinch. After they got divorced, Carl ended up marrying Dina Martin, the daughter of Dean Martin. So it all kind of comes around together. Mike was their cousin. He was the youngest of, I believe, 5 kids. I don't remember for sure, but he would prance around the stage and engage with the fans. He played the saxophone a little bit, but that was about the only instrument that he would play. But he was the front man, and still is. I don't want to say was, but he's still there. and you know, he's had a few of his own solo albums. He wrote a lot of songs. I really like his album, Make Love Not War. A really good album. I got to meet Mike a couple of times, and he was okay. He was a little standoffish, seemed to be distracted by other things, but that's all right. And then Al Jardine. Al was a college friend of Brian, and he was really into folk music and came in, had a really good voice, was able to sing lead on a few things. Wasn't sure about the whole music thing and decided to pursue a career in dentistry, but then they lost David Marks from the band, and Brian called Al and said, hey, will you come back and sing with us again? And Al said yes, and he stayed with the band. And then we have David Marks, who was the youngest at the time. I think he was 13, somewhere between 12 and 14 when the band was formed. So he was very, very young, immature, really good guitar player though. Very, very good guitar player. He went on to do his own bands and make his own music stuff. And in 2012, he rejoined the Beach Boys for their 50th anniversary tour. Is that right? Or 60th? Something like that. 50th, I think. And has been working with Brian ever since, and going in and out of Brian's band. And I mentioned earlier in '65, Brian had decided he was going to stay home and do recording sessions and write and set things up for when the guys came back. And so they ended up looking for a replacement for Brian. And originally they got Glenn Campbell. And Glenn Campbell played with him for a few months, and he decided he wanted to be a solo artist. He didn't want to be part of a group, so he left. And Bruce Johnston joined the band. Bruce happens to be my favorite. I've met Bruce, and he sang to me. He sang Linda by Jana Dean, and he held my hand, and it was a very special moment. He makes people feel very special. Really, really nice guy. He wrote the song I Write the Songs, which you may have heard by Barry Manilow. Had to think about that. But it was Bruce who actually wrote the song, and he wrote another beautiful song called Disney Girls, and he did a lot of ballads, so, you know, a little off of what the Beach Boys normally do, but they put several of his songs on their albums, and I think they sound really good. So, but that could just be me. Anyway, so the Beach Boys, Brian tours by himself, Al tours by himself. Sometimes he joins Brian. David joins either one of them. Mike and Bruce tour together as the Beach Boys. And then Carl and Dennis, unfortunately, are no longer with us. So it's just these guys, and they are getting up there in age, but they're still out there rocking and rolling and run around on the stage, and I will continue to watch them. I've seen them in concert 26 times so far, and absolutely love their shows, love the feelings, love the fact that there are people of all ages there, from little kids to old people. So it's a great place to go and to take your family and really just enjoy the music. So hope you like my little diatribe on the members of the Beach Boys.